Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm Dean Seddon, and today I've got another guest. I have Rob Nicholls. Rob, you run your own consulting firm. Do you want to tell us a little bit, well, tell the listeners, watchers, a little bit about what you do?
Well, I work with SMEs generally, business owners, to scale their businesses, to grow the business from a sales, margins, profitability, and to create value. So smaller business, anything under 50 million generally, and work with the management team and business owners to grow their business.
So we were talking earlier, and you were saying your history is CFO, but you seem to be able to hold a conversation. You seem to have all the interpersonal skills. What changed?
Yeah, I'm not your typical CFO. I tend to look forward and not backwards, because that's where you make the right decisions. But I'm an accountant by training, spent a lot of time, 30 years plus in that world. When I got an MBA, traveled to the States, did business there. And I just love working with small businesses to help them grow, to help them scale, grow their margins, grow profitability, increase their sales, and create value. That's what it's about, creating value for the business owners.
So when you're talking to businesses and they're going, we want to make more money. You know, there's the classic save money. There's charge a bit more, increase margin, and sell more stuff. If somebody's looking at growing their business, how would you get them to approach those three different things? Well,
all my clients have got similar issues. They want to scale their business, they want to grow them, they want to increase their margins and their profitability. And it's not about cutting costs. That's the easy way, and it's not the right way. You don't really cut costs to scale your business. It's about doing the right things, engaging with the right people, doing the right things around sales and marketing, distribution, strategic alliances, pricing. I talk about 7 levers that you can kind of play with. Pricing's probably the most profound one that you can put to scale the business. And a lot of the businesses don't know what they can do. They don't know that they can take a £1 million turnover business and make it a £10 million business in a couple of years. Well, you can. It's very doable. I've done it. Many people have done it. They think based on what they've done before, what they've seen before. And so sometimes it just takes a new advisor, a new pair of eyes, a new strategy to take them to that next level. And that's where most businesses are, is how do I get to the next level?
So when you talk about pricing there, and pricing's obviously a big way to do it, because, you know, if you can increase your prices, just do the same business but put the prices up, it all drops down pretty much. There's typical objections to putting the prices up of people won't pay it. What if we lose business?
Right.
But I often talk to people and they have those objections, and some of them are just they're just myths.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of businesses don't know what they can do and they haven't thought about it. I'm working with a number of clients at the moment. One in particular is a different value proposition. We're going after a different set of client opportunities. We're chasing where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is now. And so you're going after potentially more lucrative contracts, clients who have more funding, and therefore they don't worry quite so much about the pricing. So we've changed the model in terms of instead of per person pricing now, it's a value proposition, and it's going to change things dramatically for them. There's another client I work with that it's about taking the Apple type approach, is you premium price and then you're just a little bit below that. And clients generally, at the moment particularly, they don't really care. They want a solution to their problem, whatever that problem is. If it's profitability, if it's they can't sell more, you can do things. It's just looking at things sometimes from a different perspective and chasing a different market, perhaps.
So do you think that people don't... I'm going to say something that I think, but I'd love your take on this. I think a lot of companies don't really understand the value of their own services. They understand what it does, but they don't really understand the impact their service can have for a client. You know, for an example, if you can help a company go from 1 million to 10 million in 3 years, there's your time.
Right.
and there's the outcome. And I think a lot of people struggle with, okay, well, if I'm working on an outcome or a value, how do I price to the value and know what that value is with confidence?
Well, the key, I think, is to look at it from obviously the customer's perspective. What is their problem? What is their sensitivity to pricing? What is their incumbent provider provide? And look at it differently. Most businesses, probably more than 50% of businesses, struggle with understanding what the client problem is, what their solution is. Most clients don't give a fig about how much the cost is on a recurring basis. They just want their problem solved. And if you can solve it with a £50,000 a month solution, they're going to accept that, even if they were only paying 30 or 35 previously. And they will just build that higher cost base potentially into their offering to their client. So they will scale their pricing to their client. And most clients are quite amenable to improved pricing. They understand that contracts are renegotiated and you can inflate the pricing. And this is a classic example right now, is when you can. You've got to protect your margins. You've got to pass on price cost increases to your clients. And most clients right now are amenable to that. They understand inflation is out there and that they're going to have to pay a higher price for a given service or product.
So we're going to step out of the business bit and get to the human bit for a minute. As we're talking about this, people will be going, yeah, he's bang on the money there. Absolutely, it makes common sense. But humans aren't very logical sometimes. And so when it comes to it, the fear can get in the way, can't it? The fear of putting the price up. You know, there's the logical argument, there's the business case, it makes sense. But that fear can hold people back. I know you're not a therapist, but I'm sure you come across businesses and people where they're kind of stuck in a way of thinking, or a prison almost of fear about, well, what if this happens?
I think that's where I'm not an employee of my clients. I come in with a fresh pair of eyes and look at what their pricing is, what their end markets are, what the segments they're chasing after, what their margins are. I look at things from a financial perspective, but I will advise them in a narrative that they need to address accordingly. So it is partially, you need to understand the psychology of your clients, but coming in with a fresh pair of eyes as an advisor, as a non-exec, as a partner, business partner, you will often, I can tell you things that your shirt's lousy, you should do this or you should do that, and they'll listen. My kids don't listen to me, but my clients generally, because they're going to get an invoice at the end of the month, they're going to listen to me, and they're more amenable to perhaps changing things, whether that's pricing, end markets they're looking at, what they're doing, how they handle their marketing, who they outsource their marketing to. They're more amenable to me advising them that if I were you, this is what I would do. And most of the time, they'll tend to take that on board. They won't always, but they'll see that I look at things from a financial perspective. I'm looking to protect, not just protect the bottom line, but grow the bottom line, grow the margins, grow the sales, because I want to increase the value of the business they're working in. And they get that. And if this is one of the steps they're going to have to take to get there, yeah, it's not going to happen tomorrow perhaps, but over the next couple of quarters we can make a pivot to a different type of client, a different pricing methodology, and that will, in time, drop to the bottom line, and it will create better margin, better profitability, and you'll create a better value business that you can sell potentially.
So in your scenario, when you're advising a client and we're going, right, we're going to pivot to here, we're going to move our pricing model, we're going to move, and the plan is to do that 1 to 10 million in 3 years. And that's quite an adjustment internally. The marketing will be affected, the salespeople will be affected. You can't keep selling and marketing the same way and just say we've changed our prices, can you?
Right.
It's all got to change. How do you help people, or how do you see, what are some of the common things that change with the sales approach and marketing approach if you've gone from actually it's £100, now it's £130?
Well, I think that the whole sales marketing model has changed. It's pivoted in the last couple of years. Pandemic's been part of that. We've had a recession, a pandemic, a recession, a lockdown, now a war. Things have changed. The marketing model, the sales model that used to work 3 to 5 years ago doesn't work anymore. You know, marketing today, more than 50% is around social selling. And the businesses that get it will survive. The businesses that don't get it won't. And it's fairly simple. And that's the discussion that I'm having with a lot of people right now is, do you get where the market is? Do you get where the sales methodology is? The old days of having district and regional managers in place and lots of little points of presence, that's not going to work anymore. It's about relationships. It's about using platforms. It's leveraging that platform as well.
Well, if you think about it, and you know, if you've got a business where you've got a couple of different offices in different locations, there's obviously, you know, geographic variations. But actually, if you're talking about the UK now, you're on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, so we see each other pretty much every day now on LinkedIn. But you are influencing a market, your network of people, showing up every day, putting your message out there, not drumming it in, but being consistently saying, this is what I do, this is who I am. If you were a business with a regional model, you've got a huge cost base to do exactly the same thing as you could do on LinkedIn. Now, I get you have to have a warehouse and an office because there's stuff happening, but the marketing function, actually, you can influence a lot more people socially than you can in person.
Yeah, today place is kind of irrelevant. You know, I've got clients in the US that I still manage. I've got clients in the UK, in London I still manage. But I'm down here in Devon right now. So it has changed. It's definitely changed. The value proposition has changed. The pricing model has changed. You know, the cost model has changed. You know, most things, sales and marketing hasn't really been outsourced. It's one of the last remaining function areas that hasn't been outsourced. You know, finance was outsourced, legal is outsourced, HR is outsourced. Sales and marketing generally has been held in-house by a lot of SMEs. And I think this is the transition point where a lot of sales and marketing effort will be outsourced to businesses like Maverrik and others that will take on that responsibility. Yes, the owner-managed business will still overview it, but people will outsource their marketing going forward, and that's the right model going forward. I'm very much of the opinion that I don't want assets. I don't want assets on the book. I don't want warehouses, trucks, and so forth, and offices. I just want people selling or marketing and generating opportunities. It's the virtual business world. You know, I worked with a company in the States that basically they are a freight forwarding company. They don't own any planes or trucks or trains. They just facilitate that. And that's the model you want to be moving towards, because the pricing is not sensitive to the cost and you're remote from the cost. That business, for example, is doubled its turnover in the last 2 years. Profitability is off the charts right now because they don't have cost to bring with them. And you can scale much, much faster from a financial perspective as well. And so you're generating good margins, increasing profitability through growing sales. You're creating a huge value proposition as well.
So I want to ask you two questions, and then well, I'll ask you two questions, but we'll come back to the second question in a minute. So the first question I want to ask you is about being a CFO. You'll get the finance model, the power of compound interest. Yeah, that things build over time, and that you can multiply off very little. You know, there's those examples of if you put £10 away every month with the interest, or every week or something, it becomes £500,000 in 30 years or whatever. So compound interest is very powerful. But that principle of compounding is really important. And I've always struggled to communicate this about the sales and marketing effort in a business, that some of the things that you're doing in year 1 and year 2 with marketing actually pay off in year 3.
Right.
But a lot of businesses will go, oh, that didn't give me an immediate return, park it, ditch it, forget it. Do you see that a lot? Not necessarily with your clients, but with people you meet and people you talk to.
I mean, to be honest, when I came back to the UK a couple of years ago, I didn't know very many people here. So I went out and did a lot of networking, running around, meeting people, and basically built a following that was planting seeds. And so now, 2 years later, that's generating opportunities. And that, I think, you know, most people want a result tomorrow. You know, in the financial world, you know, it's quarter by quarter. So I'm pivoting with one client right now in terms of new pricing, new value proposition, new client base. we're not going to see anything through the month, through the quarter, through June. In the back half of the year, we will see increased margin. So you have to be of the opinion that you're investing for the future, you're planting seeds, you nurture that, you fertilize it, if you will, and then some rain and sunshine will come on it, and it will generate profitability and better margins, and you'll grow your business, and you'll have a more valuable business 2 to 3 years from now. But you've got to put the hard yards in now, investing, whether that's connections, followers, whatever that may be. And it will generate leads. It's taken me 2+ years to generate, 3 to 5 inquiries a week, and I don't have the capacity to take on all those clients right now. So I'm building a book, building a pipeline. My HubSpot fills every day with opportunities, and lead gen through LinkedIn and social selling works well for you, works well for me.
And then the other question, which is kind of like, probably going to go, Dean, where are you going here? The subscription model has become like the golden child of everybody wants one.
The SaaS model, yeah.
But not every business model fits. What are some of the hallmarks of what we would say would fit a subscription model?
Well, I mean, for example, my business is a subscription model. You buy a retainer from me, you get access to me 24/7, you get an invoice from me, you have access to my services through the month. That's a very lucrative model because you can generate and handle, I only handle probably 3 to 5 clients, generally 5 to 6 at the moment, but that's generating a recurring revenue, and that's highly valued by the investment community. So most of the SaaS-based businesses that have revenue that is invoiceable every month have a higher valuation. And so if you're selling a business, you can sell a business on 3 to 5 times sales with a SaaS-based model because the buyer is going to buy that revenue stream, that invoicing stream, that certainty, those contracts. I've got another client that basically sells IT products, and he sells it today, and that sale is done. He has to move on and find another client tomorrow, kind of thing. That's a different type of model. And yes, you can generate a service type model out of that with warranties and so forth, but it just takes time to build up. So some businesses are not going to be conducive to that SaaS type model, but I think an awful lot of them are, and that's where a lot of revenue can be generated and value created, clearly.
So I think like everybody thinks like Netflix or Zero or something like that to think of, oh, well, if we get people to sign up, they pay every month and then we just add some more in. And it is a brilliant model.
Yeah.
But one of the things I talk to people about is what you have to understand is, will there be an ongoing demand for your service? Because if there isn't, what you'll find is your churn rate on subscriptions will be very, very high. So, if
what Netflix did was they pivoted. They developed a SaaS type model for discs, and then they pivoted to the online version. So you'll realise that the business will evolve 3 to 5 years from now. It won't look the same. You need to pivot and change the value proposition, change the product.
About where are we now? 2022. 15 years ago, I was involved with Love Film, which was Netflix.
Okay.
The little DVD pouches, you put it all in. Yeah. So I was involved in some of that stuff. But if you're looking at your model and going, okay, Rob has helped people scale. I'm sure he's helped people migrate from a product one-hit wonder to a subscription model. And I've seen people so enamored with the model, they don't look at how they adapt what they do. I'll give you an example. I know somebody who's got, in fact, let's use my version. I've been reluctant, and maybe you'll tell me I'm wrong here, I've been reluctant to offer a subscription model on our training. And I'll tell you why. And this is, people will just know this, right? Over time, there are updates and changes, but the core training that we deliver can be done in one hit. So I either have to drip feed it out with new stuff, and you always have to have the blockbuster. But sometimes we go months where actually it's just about rinse and repeat. So maybe we'll have a conversation about this. But I know somebody who's done a training course that they're rolling out on a subscription model, but all the content is available in one go. And I'm like, so what are you going to do to roll it out? Because once people have consumed it, the value's gone.
Well, I think, the other thing is businesses change, people come into businesses, people leave. So I think the subscription model is a very valid model for the training world, but you've also got to increase the breadth of the offering as well. You can't just sell sales training. Maybe you want to be selling product training, you want to be selling marketing, HR, people-related issues. So you need to increase that breadth. And then, of course, there's the dimension of markets. A lot of our businesses in the UK were looking to Europe now, up until now. They need to pivot right now, and they need to look at other English-speaking worlds like the US. It's much, much easier to sell into that market. And that's a much more amenable market to the SaaS-based business model, because that's where most of the platforms that are SaaS businesses that have been created. I'm working with an IT company in the US around cybersecurity that is a subscription model. I wouldn't have thought that was a subscription model, but they are selling their product through a subscription model. So you hook the client on board, and then there's a monthly invoice for the service that they offer. So you can migrate products that are product specific and market specific to a SaaS-based business, but you have to look at the right market. And maybe pivoting from Italy and Germany, you need to pivot to Canada, the US, Australia now. It's an easier market to go to. It's much more amenable to that sort of business model.
I was reading a report recently about British culture and how whilst we are so close to Europe, our culture is more similar to the US, Canada and Australia in the way we approach things, even down to the way we sell. When we sell, we have the icebreaker conversation and all that kind of stuff first, whereas a lot of different cultures in Europe, it's very much more clinical.
Right. I was amazed when I came back a couple of years ago how close the UK had got to the European way of thinking. That's not bad, but having lived in the US for 20 plus years, it's a different mindset. It's a much faster, there's more value there, there's more pricing ability, there's more money around, more liquidity. And so we need to pivot back towards that from the UK. And so I'm working with another client that is looking to scale in the US as well. And that's where the right market to go to as well. That's where the money is. That's where the pot of client opportunities is. It's probably not where it was, and you just need to pivot accordingly. And that's where a lot of these SaaS-based businesses, recurring revenue businesses are. So it's a successful strategy, maybe not for everyone, but most people can look at it. And that's where the value is.
At the very least, you have a product that can be adapted.
Right.
But you have to think, well, if you want to retain somebody for 6 months, 12 months, 10 years, your product has to have ongoing value.
Right.
Otherwise, they just cancel it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not the same value that it was 10 years ago. That value has changed, and you need to pivot accordingly. One of the issues I have in the UK at the moment is the mindset hasn't really changed. We have a rather risk-averse, Europe-focused mindset, and I think there's probably a need to pivot towards a more US-centric
entrepreneurial.
Yes, mindset. I work with a number of people coming out of the universities here, and the mindset is not the same. I work with some of the state universities in the US, and everyone there wants to be an entrepreneur. They want to be the next Dean Seddon. They want to have their own business. The majority of people do. Whereas most of our graduates coming out of the universities in the UK probably don't have that mindset. And that's gonna affect us negatively. In fact, I think I'm going to post on that probably next week.
So do you think this entrepreneurship thing... I can remember when I started my first business, I knew nothing. I didn't know what I didn't know. The Donald Rumsfeld quote, I didn't know anything. I made a horrendous number of mistakes, and my family at the time were like disappointed because I should have gone to university and I should have done all. It was a disappointment. Interestingly enough, my dad is coming to see me this weekend and has never seen Maverrik.
Oh, that's cool.
So that will be interesting to see their take on Dean and what he does. But I think there is this kind of, we'll get into it. There's this online entrepreneur thing which is a bit toxic, but there's the steady, sensible, let's build a business that's got value. I think you're right. There's a lot, that attitude isn't there. There's people going, I'm going to make some money on crypto and stuff like that.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But the real, let's build something valuable.
Right.
as a business isn't there anymore.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset change we probably need to go through, and I think we probably need to look at what the US has done. It's not perfect by any means, but there's that mindset around generating a business opportunity, exploring it, failing maybe, learning from it, trying again, failing again, and that's the sort of investment I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that have failed once or twice before, but actually now has a new product or a new service that I can think, okay, yeah, you've learned a few things, you've got a few scars from that experience, and we can work together and scale the business accordingly. And you're a better business person as a result of that. You don't need to go off and get an MBA to do that.
It's always dangerous if you've never made any mistakes.
Right.
Because you don't know what failure is like.
Exactly.
But here, interestingly, we've kind of gone off on cultural stuff, but here, we don't really reward failure.
No, we
don't. Punish it.
We don't particularly reward success either. But particularly, I don't think we're it's that risk aversion that maybe has to change a little bit, and it'll create more value added. It'll create more opportunities, more jobs, more income for everyone, and we'll be, I think, the better for it. Perhaps not to say the US is the bee's knees, but it's pretty good.
It's a pretty big market. It's easy for us to access.
It is. I mean, I went over there. It was very easy to be successful in the US. It really is.
So when we're talking about businesses that are sat there and they're doing the £1 million and they filled in your HubSpot form, but you're too busy. What are some of the things that they could be doing themselves to really assess, okay, maybe I can't get Rob to help me get to 1 to 10 million in the next 3 years, but what are some of the things I could be doing to sharpen up my business?
I think there's lots of things. I mean, you mentioned HubSpot. I think a lot of businesses today still don't really work on a CRM system. They should be. I'm a big proponent of that. They should be working with advisors, people outside the business that can help them scale the business accordingly. And their legal advisor and their accountant probably aren't the right person to do that. There are other people to help them, advisors, non-executives as well.
Accountants and legal are risk-averse people.
Well, right? They generally are. So I work as an advisor to businesses. I mentor a number of businesses. And businesses should, I think, be looking to work with other partners. There's other opportunities. They should be looking at strategic partnerships. You can't do it all yourself. So I'm a big proponent of every other month, each of my clients should be looking at a new partnership, whether it's a new distribution partnership, a new product partnership, to try and keep things new channels, new opportunities. And so those are three things you should be doing: strategic alliances, strategic partnerships to scale the business. You should be investing in people right now. We haven't talked very much about people. People need to have career development plans, personal development plans. You need to hold on to your staff right now, because staff's probably the biggest issue businesses are dealing with right now. Is the cost of staffing is going up, but people are walking out the door and they're not coming back. So taking care of your staff, training your staff, giving them opportunities is, I think, vital right now. Because we just don't have enough people to do the work we've got. But again, having a financial plan is the other thing I'd say as well. Working with a partner to develop a top line number. What is the sales number? What is our margin we're looking to generate? What was it last year? What do we want to set it up to be this year? And then managing that on a monthly, generally a quarterly basis, looking back, seeing what we've done, what can we do differently, looking at your KPIs, what do your key performance indicators say? Is it sales per employee? We've got 45 people, we should be doing £100,000 worth of sales per employee. Well, we're only at 250. Well, what do we need to do to get to that 400? You need to be looking at your targets and comparing them. What can we do and what can we do differently? Do we need to outsource our sales and marketing to a third party perhaps? Do we need to be going after a different market and different segmentation? One of the clients I've just come on board with as well, we've started investing and buying databases from a very good third-party database source to find out where funding is going to, and therefore where clients have funds to invest in their product. So it's going after the clients where the funding is. Don't go after clients that don't have any money. Go after clients that have got an investment of £1 million and they need their IT system supported. Those are the clients to be going after. Focus on where the money is.
Yeah. We could go on for ages here.
Yeah, we could do a part 2.
Part 2. One final question, Rob. If you were talking to somebody now who's perhaps still early on, so they're too early to talk to you maybe, they've got 5 to 10 people, they've got a great idea and a baseline business, they're out of the kind of survival mode, but they're like, where should we go now? What are some of the things you'd be suggesting to them?
So I've got several of my clients that are under £1 million turnover. I think one of the first things is realize that you can't do it all yourself, and find someone that you like, know and trust and can bring into the business maybe a couple of hours a month, maybe a day or two a month, to advise you, to counsel you, to be that sounding board. I think that's really important for businesses today, to have someone kind of from a corporate governance, independent director kind of thing, just saying, if I were you, I wouldn't do that, I'd do this. And realizing that there's other things to do. The number of businesses that I go into that have no clue what, they convert maybe 50% of their sales into actual clients, but they haven't done anything with the 50% they didn't convert. Well, you need to go back 2 years, you need to drop that into a CSV file, drop it into your HubSpot, and start talking to those people again. Because those are opportunities that were maybe 50 or 70% there, you just didn't convert them. Those are easy sales to be had, and you can probably pick up 50% more revenue by doing that. So dropping it into a CRM and working it, maybe outsource it to a virtual PA perhaps to do that work for you if you haven't got the capacity in-house, because you're only 6 or 8 people. Get someone else to do it for you. Pay them £300 to £400 a month to do that for you, and you'll generate probably 10 times that in terms of new sales opportunities, and that'll be high margin sales. So I think that's one thing I would suggest looking to do straight off the bat.
And 100% with you there. It's much easier to focus more effort on the right people, than, we see on LinkedIn all the time, don't we? We see people just sending generic pitches. I saw one the other day, cybersecurity actually. They sent me a long-winded sales message, and basically they don't touch anything under 25 grand. But they were firing these messages out like hotcakes, and I'm like, surely spending a bit. It's an efficiency argument, The logic is, I don't spend my time pursuing leads because they might not be interested, and I've wasted all my time on the leads. So I know I'll get a robot to send an automated generic message to everybody. Somebody will bite, and then that means I just spend my time on the ones that are going to convert. That's one logic, but I'm like, but if you spent a bit of your own time on some of them, more would actually convert. So there's an efficiency of time versus an efficiency of ROI.
Well, they're busy fools perhaps, so you probably get a 1% conversion rate from that. But you probably get a 50 or 60% conversion rate going back to clients you didn't convert a year or 2 years ago. You've already done the hard work. They already know you. They probably like you. They may not necessarily trust you, but they probably talk to other clients who've bought your product or service. So go after those again. But don't do it yourself. Outsource it to someone else. You'll probably get 30, 40% conversion rate out of that. And it's high value, high margin type business. It's not rocket science, is it?
No, it's not. Rob, thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
We went all over off script there, but it was good. And I think a lot of people watching this will get value. Rob, if people want to come find you, LinkedIn's the channel.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn.
So Rob Nicholls, Rob Nicholls Consulting. Hunt him down. You won't need to. He's very visible. He's very active, so he's there. Thanks again for coming in, and thanks for joining us on this episode of the podcast.